Welcome to Sailing Florida. Today I'll be doing a briefing on the Jeanneau 44DS. So listen carefully so you can have an enjoyable trip. Here we have the AC and DC panel. Here you have the voltage coming into the boat. Below that you got a water heater, which please leave off while using the generator. Here you have your AC plugs. All you have to do is flip these switches like that. Here's your battery charger. Whenever plugged in or with generator, make sure you have that in the on position. Right here's your cabin lights. You got a 12-volt adapter right here. Fridge. Auxiliary on this specific boat is for your TV. Below that is your water pump, which I also like to leave off unless I'm using it. Your heads are freshwater flush, so you will need that on to use the heads. Below that is your bilge pump. As you can tell, it's on auto. If you were to put it in the middle, it will not work. You can manually override it by flipping the switch. Navigation instruments, we'll turn those on now because we will be talking about them later on in this video. Deck light, anchor light, steaming light, and nav lights. That's just your nav lights while sailing. Middle's off. Steaming light is if you're motoring. It turns on the light halfway up the mast. Over here you got a meter that shows you water, fuel, and battery. To the left of the AC and DC panel, you have your VHF radio. To turn on, you would hit the power button right there in the middle. Please monitor channel 16 at all times. Below that, you got your CD or your Fusion radio, which in this particular model, she does have a DVD player and a CD player. To the left of that, we have an air conditioning control and an inverter. I highly recommend not using the inverter. It will not run your air conditionings, and I highly recommend not using your microwave on it. If anything, maybe to like charge a phone or something like that. Back to the air conditioning. To power it on, you would hit the power button right there. You can set your modes right here to heat, cool, or auto, and then set your desired temperature however you like. We have two 30-amp power cords coming to the back of the boat. Before departing, make sure you take these and turn them to the off position. If you were out sailing, or sorry, at anchor, do not turn on the generator while sailing. You would push down on this button right here to prime the generator, and then push up. Lights are flashing. In a minute here, it'll kick on. And then you'll see the other red lights turn on. And there they go. That's on. To switch your generator, you would flip this on. Make sure your water heater is off. And then you can turn one at a time. Wait about 20 seconds before turning on each one of these. Before turning off the generator, turn the load off and then hit the stop button. Tank switching on this boat. This particular model has two water tanks. I'll remove the backrest around midship on the starboard side. Behind there you have your switches. I have a flashlight in there to show you, see if I can make it easier for you to see. Let me crawl in here. There we go. They are your two levers. The top one is in parallel mode. It's hard to see. You can see those little arrows. It's in parallel, so that one is on. The one below it is off. As you finish one water tank, turn the empty one off and open up the new tank. Move the floor to expose the bilge pump. I just want you to take a quick peek at it. I told you how it worked earlier. Make sure it's always on auto or manual to override if the auto goes bad. Okay, this is the AC strainer location and the motor that runs all your air conditionings. You got 3 units. Here's a hose for 1, 2, and 3. Try not to get this motor wet at all, please. To check the strainer, you gotta turn off the through hull, which is located right here. Make sure the AC is off during this time. After that is done, you unscrew the cap. A little bit of water will go on. It's okay. It's just coming back from the air conditionings. This is the bilge area, so it's okay. You remove this cap right here very carefully. Set it aside. Inside here, you got a strainer basket, which normally seaweed gathers inside. After taking the seaweed out, please don't let it go into the bilge. You set this back down, a little bit of water, it's okay. Cap back on. Does a little seal there. And then screw this back on. Just hand tighten till it does a good seal, just like that. No need to over tighten at all. After you're done there, you come back, you open up the through hull, and that's all there is to it. On the side of the engine, you will notice a dipstick right here. To check the dipstick, you would pull this out very carefully, take the oil out. Oops, drop the flashlight, it's okay. There's two little dots here. You want it somewhere in the middle. So I'm going to put it back in after cleaning it once, push it all the way in with the plunger, pull it out without making a mess, and as you can tell, it is in a perfect area. When you're done, put it back in. If you dripped a little bit, just clean up around the edges, and that is all. This is how the front of the engine looks like. If you're having low water flow, it could very well be your impeller, but always first check your strainer, which is in the back corner right about here, which we'll talk about here shortly. The impeller housing is right here. You would have to unscrew these 4 screws and change out the rubber impeller, and then you put it back on like you would a tire. In the aft cabin, you notice this under the TV with a handle right here. This lifts up like this and gets removed. After that, you will see a strainer similar to the one for the air conditioning. This particular one, all you gotta do is untwist. If you follow it down, you see a red lever right here. That's your through hull fitting for your engine, which is coming from the lower part of the sail drive, so rarely do you get a lot of seaweed in there because the seaweed stays on the surface. Make sure you turn on a through hull after checking the strainer. If you lift up the seating area where the water tank switching is, you'll notice your hot water tank is located right there. And right behind it, you see this lever right about there, and that right there is your through hull fitting for your galley sink. And as you walk in, you see a sink, toilet, a door to close, and a shower. To use the toilet, you have several buttons here. This one right here has an arrow facing down, and it looks like 2 shower heads going into a bowl. That is adding water and flushing. This one is missing the arrow, so it's just adding water. This one's missing the showers, so it's just flushing. So no matter what your duty is, it should be okay. Remember, nothing with strings attached goes down these toilets. Okay, next thing we're going to talk about is how to turn on the stove. After the LP tank is on in the back with the valve, you can come here and turn this guy to the on position, like so. You would come here, you have to push in on this and turn it. Right there, push in, turn, and then it lights. I'm still holding it in for about 5 to 10 seconds. Next one, push in and hold, light. If for some reason it does not turn on with the igniter, we do have a lighter provided for you. To turn them off, you turn this lever to the off position. Then you go over to the switch, like so, and then you can turn off the tank in the back. In the back of the boat, in the aft cabin, you'll notice some of these breakers. No need to touch them, everything's automatic. This is your windlass right here. That's off, that's on. Your engine has to be on for your windlass to work. These 2 right here are for your 2 power winches. Again, off, on. On the port side of the boat, you'll notice after removing the seating area. You can see everything we got there. It's all your safety equipment. Here we got first aid kit, electronic flares, binoculars, more flares, and in this area it's like oil change parts and toolkits, etc. And or around the nav desk, you'll notice this white book. If you turn to the back page of it, you'll notice you have your documentation and proof of insurance. We also have a downtown guide right here, and we have charts, which the briefing captain will show you how it all works. As you come down the stairs, which are right here, you got the galley, the sink, aft cabin, and back here, if I was to make a U-turn and face the galley, you have a fire extinguisher. As I go towards the front of the boat, see your navigation switches and stuff here. You have a head right here, a table which drops down by removing these legs. The other legs are located right here. Going towards the back, you have another shower, another head. You have your V-berth. Got a little cutout area which we put the cushions currently. It's a two beds back in here, mainly for kids. Here you have your main furler, extra halyard, which we call spin, vang. On the other side we have outhaul, main halyard, and jib halyard. There is no need to touch any of these two because it will jam your sail. To bring out the main, you would release the main furling line right here. That's not open, that's open. Make sure she is 100% loose. I've already put the outhaul around the winch, minimum 3 turns. And then here you have slow and fast. And all you gotta do is hit the button and the sail come in. It's the opposite. Lock down the main furler, which is that corkscrew up front. Release the main outhaul. What I've done here, I went around this winch and over to the electric. Keeping tension on the outhaul, you can bring in the main. This particular model has a jib furler on the port side clutch right here. Just pull out the jib. You would open this all the way, make sure this gray line is loose, and then pull on the jib. Lazarette on the port side on this model, you will notice you have emergency bilge pump handle right here, which would go right in here by lifting up right there. This one has a spare anchor right here. This metal bar is your emergency tip. In the other lazarette, you'll find you have your adult life jackets, extra fenders in there as well. Port side of the boat, after lifting up this little fancy door, you have your 30 amp power cords, and you also have a diesel fill, which uses a winch handle to open. If you follow it, it goes around this, sorry for the wind, to this pedestal. Please make sure to turn off the power at the pedestal before unplugging. To turn off and on the engine, you would have to hit the power button. Then hit the top one to start. To turn off the engine, you would have to hit stop first. And then hit the power button. I am going to turn on the engine again because we're going to be talking about the anchor, because you need the engine on for your anchor to work. Up in the bow is your anchor locker. The chain is slack. You do not want to over tighten this chain. Right next to it you have your remote. Up and down. Down brings down the anchor. Up brings up the anchor. As you can tell, it did not super tighten the anchor chain. To engage the bow thruster, the engine needs to be on. To do so, you hold down these two buttons at the same time. You want to let the valve go to starboard, you would hit there. Port, there. Do not use more than 5 to 8 seconds, it will pop the breaker. This particular model has electric winches as well at the jib area. Engage the autopilot. Make sure the steering lock is released. Then you can hit the button that says auto. Do not try to turn the wheel at that point. The wheel is now locked, was locked. To disengage, all I did was hit the standby button. Well, that about sums up the briefing for the Jeanneau 44DS. Keep in mind, models are a little different than others, but not by much. Hope you enjoy your sail and have a wonderful trip.